The void had no name in any human tongue, because no human had ever come back to give it one. The elders had a name for it, but they did not say it out loud. They believed that some things grew stronger when you spoke them, so they only pointed at it on their star maps with a small gray mark, like a stain, and they taught their young to stay away. For 100,000 years, nothing had ever come out of the void. It sat at the edge of the known galaxy like a hole cut in the floor of a great house. Stars stopped near its border. Light bent away from it. Ships that drifted too close lost their signals, lost their crews, and then lost themselves. The elders had sealed the safe lanes around it long ago, and they had built quiet watch stations along its rim, not to fight it, but simply to watch and to make sure that the rule still held true. The rule was simple: nothing comes out of the void. On the watch station called Far Lamp, an elder named Valen had kept that watch for 900 years. Valen belonged to the Sorth, the oldest of the old species. The Sorth were tall and thin, with long limbs and skin like pale, smooth stone. They lived for thousands of years, and because of this they did not rush and they did not panic and they rarely felt surprise. Valen had seen young species rise up across the stars, full of fire and noise. He had seen many of them fall again. He had buried civilizations the way a gardener buries seeds, with patience and without tears, knowing that the soil would bring up something new in time. So when the alarm rang on Far Lamp, Valen did not jump. He simply turned his calm gray eyes toward the great window and looked. The alarm had not rung in 900 years. At first he thought it was a fault in the machine. The watch station was old, and old things made mistakes. But the second alarm joined the first, and then the third, and soon every sensor on Far Lamp was singing the same impossible song. Something was moving inside the void. Something was moving toward the edge. Valen stepped closer to the window. The other watchers on the station, younger ones from younger species, gathered behind him. They did not speak. They had all been trained to keep the watch, but none of them had ever truly believed that the day would come. To them the void was a story, a warning, a line on a map. To Valen it was a memory, and that was worse. "Show me," Valen said softly. The window changed. It pulled the far darkness close until the smooth black face of the void filled the glass. And there, against that black, a tiny point of light was crawling outward. It was so small that it looked like a single grain of sand thrown across a beach. But it was moving, and it was moving the wrong way. It was coming out. "It is a ship," said one of the young watchers, her voice thin with fear. She was of the KTH, an insect people, and her many eyes had caught the shape before the machines did. "Elder, it is a ship, a real ship." "No," another said. "Nothing flies out of the void. Nothing has a ship inside the void. There is nothing in there but death." But the shape grew, and as it grew it became harder to deny. It had a body and wings and the long broken lines of something that had once been built with care. It was a ship. It was small, far smaller than any elder vessel, smaller even than a single elder lifeboat. And it was hurt. Pieces of it were missing. Its skin was burned black and silver. One whole side had been torn open and then patched again, badly, with metal that did not match. It looked like a wounded animal dragging itself out of a fire. "Bring it closer," Valen said. The window obeyed. Now they could see the marks along the ship's broken hull. They were letters of some kind, painted by hand long ago and faded now almost to nothing. None of the watchers could read them, but Valen leaned in, and he studied the lines, and something deep in his ancient chest grew very still. The marks were rows of small shapes, hundreds of them, and next to many of the shapes someone had drawn a single straight line, and through some of those lines someone had drawn a slash, the way a person might cross off a name. "What are they counting?" the KTH watcher whispered. Valen did not answer at once. He had seen marks like these before long ago on a wall in a place of great sorrow. He knew what it meant when a people counted on the side of a ship. It meant they were counting the days, or it meant they were counting the dead. They are counting, Valen said at last. They are counting how long they have been inside. The room went quiet again. The void broke minds. That was the first thing every child of the elder worlds learned about it. A mind that entered the void did not simply die. It came apart. The darkness in there was not empty. It pressed against thought itself, and it pulled threads loose, and it whispered until there was nothing left to whisper to. The longest any creature had ever survived inside in all the records of the elders was 11 days. After 11 days, even the strongest minds were gone. But the marks on the side of that little ship went on and on, row after row after row. If each mark was a day, then the creatures inside that ship had been in the void not for 11 days, but for years. "That is not possible," said the Watcher, who did not want to believe. "No mind can hold for so long. They are dead. It is a dead ship the dark spit out. There is nothing alive in there." And then, as if the universe wished to answer him, the little ship sent out a sound. It came across the open dark as a thin and broken signal, the way a single thread reaches across a room. The machines on Far Lamp caught it and turned it into something the Watchers could hear. At first it was only noise, the hiss and crackle of a thing badly damaged. But under the noise there was a voice. It was a small voice and a tired one, and it spoke a language no elder had ever heard. The words meant nothing to them, but a voice does not need words to be understood. The voice was calm. It was steady. It was speaking slowly and clearly, the way a person speaks when they are trying very hard not to be afraid, when they are talking to keep themselves and others alive. And then under the voice there was another sound, softer still. It was the sound of more voices answering, many of them. A low murmur, the sound of a crowd that was tired but not broken, the sound of people who were still there, still together, still holding on. The Watcher, who did not want to believe, sat down slowly in his chair and said nothing more. Valen stood very still before the window for a long time. He had watched young species cross great distances. He had watched them fight wars and build wonders and make terrible mistakes. He had thought, in his long life, that he had seen every kind of courage there was to see. He had grown used to the feeling of being old, of having seen it all, of standing above the small bright lives of others like a mountain stands above a forest. But he had never seen this. No one had. In 100,000 years, no living thing had crossed the void. The elders had not even tried. They had decided long ago that it was a thing that could not be done, and being the oldest and the wisest, they had stopped asking whether they were right. And now a small broken ship, full of small living voices, was crawling out of the dark, counting its days on its own torn skin, talking softly to keep its people calm. "Elder," the KTH Watcher said, "what do we do? What are they?" Valen turned from the window. His face, which had not changed in 900 years of watching, had changed now. It was not fear on it. It was not even surprise, not really. It was the look of a very old being who has just learned that the world is bigger than he thought. "I do not know what they are," Valen said, "but I know what they have done. They have done a thing we said could not be done. They have crossed the deepest dark in the universe, and they have come out the other side still speaking to one another." He looked back at the little ship, dragging itself toward the light. "Send no weapons," he said. "Send no warnings, send only this, send help." The young Watchers stared at him. The elders did not send help to strangers. The elders watched and waited and judged, and only after long centuries did they ever open their hand. That was their way. That was how they had stayed alive and wise for so long. You did not run to meet a thing you did not understand. You held back. You watched. "Elder," the KTH Watcher said carefully, "we do not know if they are dangerous. We do not know what came out of the void with them. The rule." "The rule is broken," Valen said. "The rule said nothing comes out of the void. Something has. So the rule is gone, and we are in a new world now, and in a new world we must look with new eyes." He raised one long hand toward the glass. "Look at them," he said. "Look closely. Forget what we were taught. Forget that we are old and they are small. Just look and tell me what you see." The watchers looked. They looked at the broken ship and the burned skin and the rows of counted days. They listened to the calm, tired voice still speaking, still steady, still keeping its people together across a darkness that had no end. "I see," the KTH watcher said slowly, "something that should be dead, and is not." "Yes," Valen said, "and do you know why it is not dead?" She shook her many-eyed head. "Because it decided not to be," Valen said. "Every day, for years, in a place that takes minds apart, it decided not to be. That is not a thing of machines. That is not a thing of weapons or science. That is a thing of will. And I have lived for 900 years, child, and I have never once seen a will like that." He let his hand fall. "Send help," he said again, "and send word to the others. Tell the conquered of elders that the void has opened and that something has walked out of it alive. Tell them to come quickly. And tell them," he paused, and the words felt strange in his ancient mouth because they were words of wonder and he had not felt wonder in a very long time. "Tell them that we may have been wrong, about the dark, about what can live in it, about what is strong and what is weak." The signal went out from far lamp across the quiet stars, racing toward the great worlds of the elders far away. And while it raced, the little ship kept crawling, slow and broken and burning, toward the safe light of the galaxy. Inside that ship, though the watchers could not yet see it, were the last of a people. They did not know that anyone was listening. They did not know that they had been seen. They had been alone for so long that they had stopped believing the universe held anyone but themselves. For years their whole world had been the cold inside of one small ship and the killing dark outside it, and the only thing that had kept them whole was each other. Their world had ended. Their home was gone, swallowed by a disaster they had not been able to stop. They had run, and the running had pushed them somewhere no one was meant to go, and the dark had taken them in, and the dark had tried every single day to take them apart. It had whispered to them. It had shown them terrible things. It had pulled at the threads of their minds, one by one, the way it had pulled apart every other mind that had ever entered it. But these people had done something the dark did not expect. They had held on to each other. When one of them began to slip, the others had pulled them back. When one of them broke, the others had carried them. They had talked, always talked, night after endless night, telling stories of a home that no longer was, singing songs, holding hands in the cold, refusing again and again and again to let the dark have even one more of them than it had already taken. And so, against every law the elders knew, they had survived. Not because they were strong, not because they were clever, but because they would not let go. The little ship reached the edge of the void. For a moment it seemed to catch on something, as if the dark did not want to release it, as if even now it tried to pull its last prize back into the deep. The ship shuddered. Its lights flickered. The calm voice on the signal rose just slightly, and the murmur of the other voices rose with it, all of them together, pushing. And then the little ship slipped free. It came out of the void and into the open stars, into real light, into a galaxy that had thought itself old and finished with surprises. It drifted there, burned and broken and barely alive, a tiny thing against the great black wall it had just escaped. On Far Lamp the watchers were silent. Even Valen did not speak. They simply watched the little ship float in the new light, and they felt, all of them, that they were looking at something they would tell their children about, and their children's children, for the rest of time. The first human ship had emerged from the void. And far away, across the quiet stars, the elders were already coming to take one look at humanity. They did not yet understand, not fully, that would come. But Valen, standing at the window of his lonely station, looking at the rows of counted days painted on a broken hull, felt the very beginning of it move inside him like a slow tide. He had spent his whole long life believing that wisdom meant knowing what could not be done. Now a small ship had taught him otherwise. "Welcome," he said quietly to the little ship that could not hear him, to the people inside it who did not know he was there. "Welcome out of the dark. We have been waiting a very long time, and we did not even know it." The little ship drifted in the light. And inside it, for the first time in years, a child looked out a small round window, saw real stars instead of killing dark, and began, very quietly, to cry with something that was not fear. It was the other thing. The thing the elders had almost forgotten existed. It was hope. The elder rescue ships came slowly and carefully, the way you walk toward a wounded animal you do not wish to frighten. There were 3 of them, smooth and silver and large, each 100 times the size of the little human ship. They had no weapons showing. Valen had given that order himself, and the conquered, who had received his strange message and were full of doubt, had let the order stand for now. So the 3 great ships drifted close with open hands, and they made soft lights along their sides, slow and gentle colors, the colors the elders used when they wished to say we mean no harm. The little human ship, which was called the Daybreak, did not answer at first. Inside the Daybreak, the people had seen the silver ships come, and they did not know what to think. For years they had seen nothing but the dark. Now there were great shining vessels all around them, larger than anything they had ever built, moving with a calm and terrible ease. Some of the humans were afraid. After all they had lived through, fear had become a part of them, stitched into them like thread. But the captain of the Daybreak was not afraid. Or if she was, she did not let it show, because that was her job, and she had been doing her job in the dark for so long that she no longer remembered how to stop. Her name was Maya Reyes, and she was tired in a way that went past the body and deep into the soul. She stood at the front of her broken ship and looked out at the silver vessels, and she made her voice steady, the way she always did, the way she had every single day inside the void. "This is the Daybreak," she said into the signal, though she did not know if anything was listening. "We are not your enemy. We have lost our home. We have come a long way. There are 812 of us left aboard. We have children. We have sick. We are almost out of everything. If you can hear me, and if you mean us well, we ask for help. And if you mean us harm," she paused, and her tired voice did not shake, "then know that we have come through worse than you, and we will not go easily." The elders heard her words. They could not understand the language, not yet, but their machines were old and clever, and even as Maya spoke they were already learning it, catching the shapes of the sounds, fitting them together. And while the machines learned the words, the elders heard the thing underneath the words, the thing that needs no translation. They heard the calm. They heard the warning. They heard a leader, exhausted past all bearing, standing between her people and the unknown and refusing to step aside. On the lead silver ship, Valen listened, and he closed his gray eyes for a moment. "She thinks we may be a threat," he said, "and she is ready to fight us. 800 souls in a broken ship that can barely move, and she is ready to fight 3 elder warships because she will not leave her people undefended." He opened his eyes. "Tell the machines to hurry. I wish to speak with her. I wish to speak with her very much." It took the machines a little while longer to learn enough of the human tongue. And then Valen spoke, and his words went out across the small gap of space to the Daybreak, in halting, careful human speech. "Daybreak," he said, "we hear you. We are the elders. We mean you no harm. We have come to help. You are safe now. The dark is behind you. You do not have to be strong anymore." Inside the Daybreak, when those words came through, something happened that had not happened in a very long time. The people went quiet, and then here and there they began to weep. You do not have to be strong anymore. For years they had been strong because there was no other choice. They had been strong when their friends slipped away in the dark. They had been strong when the food ran low and the cold crept in, and the whispers of the void told them, night after night, to give up, to let go, to stop. They had been strong because strength was the only wall between them and the end. And now a voice from a great silver ship was telling them gently that they could put the weight down. Maya Reyes did not weep. Not yet. She had taught herself long ago that she could weep later, always later, never now. But her hands, which had been steady for years, began to shake just slightly, and she gripped the edge of her console so that no one would see. "Thank you," she said into the signal, and her steady voice cracked for the first time on that single word. "Thank you. We have wounded. We have children who have never seen a real star. We have so little left. If you truly mean us well, then yes, please, we need help. We need it badly." "You will have it," Valen said. "All of it. Hold on a little longer. We are coming aboard." And the elders came aboard the Daybreak. What they found there, they would remember for the rest of their long lives. The inside of the human ship was a small and crowded world. Every space was used. Pipes had been turned into gardens. Walls had been turned into beds. Children's drawings covered the metal in bright, shaky colors, pictures of a blue and green world that none of the watching elders had ever seen, a world the humans called Earth, a world that was gone. There were names written everywhere too, hundreds of names, painted on the walls and ceilings and doors, and beside many of them small marks, the same marks that had been counted on the outside of the hull. The elders understood slowly that the names were the dead. The humans had written down every single person they had lost in the dark, so that no one would be forgotten, so that, even in that cramped and dying ship, every life would be remembered. The walls of the Daybreak were a graveyard and a memorial and a promise all at once. And among the names, alive and breathing, were the 812 who remained. They were thin. They were sick. Many of them could barely stand. But when the tall, pale elders came aboard, the humans did not run, and they did not bow. They stood, those who could stand, and they looked up at the strange visitors with eyes that had seen the worst the universe had to give and had not closed. An elder physician of the Sorth, named Eshin, knelt down beside a human child who lay weak upon a cot. The child was small, with dark hair and large dark eyes, and she should have been afraid of the strange, tall creature leaning over her. But she was not. She reached up one thin hand and touched Eshin's pale face, gently, the way a child touches something she is not sure is real. "Are you a star person?" the child asked in her small voice, and the machines turned it into elder speech. Eshin, who had lived for 2,000 years and had healed beings beyond counting, found that for a moment she could not speak. "Yes," Eshin said at last very softly, "I suppose I am." "I always wanted to meet a star person," the child said. "My mama told me there might be some far away. She said the universe was too big to be empty. She was right." The child's eyes began to close because she was so very tired and so very weak. "Tell her she was right. Will you tell her?" Eshin looked up. A human woman nearby, the child's grandmother, shook her head slowly, and in her old face was a grief beyond words. The child's mother was on the wall. She was one of the names. "I will tell her," Eshin said gently, and she took the child's small hand in her long, pale fingers. "I promise. Now rest. You are safe. The star people are here, and we will not let go of you. Do you hear me, little one? We will not let go." The child smiled, just a little, and slept. Eshin stayed with her, holding her hand, and did not move for a long time. Across the ship, the elders moved among the humans, bringing food and medicine and warmth, and everywhere they went they found the same thing. They found people who had been to the very bottom of the dark and had carried each other back up. They found an old man who had given his food, day after day, to the children so that they might live until he was little more than bones, and who, when the elders tried to give him medicine first, pointed to the children and said them first, always them first. They found two young people who had fallen in love inside the void, who had decided to build a life even there, even in the killing dark, because love was a kind of defiance, and they would not let the dark take that from them too. They found a woman who had kept a record of every story, every song, every memory of the lost world, writing it all down by hand, so that Earth would not be forgotten even though Earth was gone. The elders had come expecting to find survivors. Survivors were thin and frightened things, broken by what they had lived through, clinging to life and nothing more. That was not what they found. They found a people who had been through the unsurvivable and had come out the other side still kind, still loving, still caring for one another, still remembering their dead, still making art and music and love in the dark. The void had thrown everything it had at these small, soft creatures, and the void had failed. And it had failed not because the humans were powerful, but because they had refused every single day to become cruel. They had held on to who they were. They had decided that even at the end of everything, they would still be human, and being human to them meant not letting go of each other. Valen walked through the daybreak slowly, and he read the names on the walls, and he watched his people kneel beside the humans, and he felt the slow tide inside him rise higher. He came at last to the front of the ship, where Captain Maya Reyes stood. She had not slept, he could see that. She would not sleep, he understood, until every one of her people had been seen to. She turned as he approached, and the two of them, the ancient elder and the exhausted human, looked at one another across a small space that held the whole weight of two very different worlds. "You crossed the void," Valen said. "Do you know what that means? Do you know that no one has ever done it, that we believed it could not be done?" "We didn't cross it because we wanted to," Maya said. "We crossed it because it was the only way out, and behind us there was nothing left. We didn't choose the dark. The dark was just where the road went, so we walked it. There was nothing brave about it. There was just no other way." Valen looked at her for a long moment. "You think you are not brave," he said, "because you had no choice. But child, every mind that has ever entered that dark has come apart, everyone. The dark does not kill the body, it kills the self. It takes you apart, thought by thought, until there is nothing left. And you went in with 800 souls and children and sick and old, and you came out years later with your minds whole and your hearts still soft. Do you understand what I am telling you? It is not that you survived. Many things wish to survive. It is how you survived. You survived together. You survived without becoming monsters. That is the thing. That is the impossible thing." Maya Reyes looked at him, and her tired eyes filled at last with the tears she had held back for years. "We just didn't let go of each other," she said quietly. "That's all. When someone started to slip, we held on. When someone broke, we carried them. We told stories. We sang. We kept each other human. That was the whole secret. There wasn't any more to it than that." Valen was very still. "No," he said softly, "there was not any more to it than that, and that is the most that there could ever be." He looked around the small, broken ship, at the names of the dead and the faces of the living, at the children's drawings and the gardens in the pipes, at his own ancient people kneeling among these small, soft creatures and holding their hands. He had lived for 900 years. He had buried civilizations. He had thought he had seen everything there was to see, and he had grown proud of his great age and his great wisdom, proud in the quiet way of those who believe they have nothing left to learn. And now a broken ship full of the last of a lost people had shown him a thing he had never seen and would never forget. The elders had crossed the stars on the strength of their machines and their minds and their long, long years. The humans had crossed the unsurvivable on nothing but their refusal to let go of one another. "Rest now, Captain Maya Reyes," Valen said. "You have carried your people far enough. Let us carry them a little while. You have my word, the word of an elder of the Sorth, that no harm will come to a single one of them while they are with us. Rest. You have earned it more than any being I have ever known." And Maya Reyes, captain of the daybreak, who had not truly slept in years, who had stood between her people and the dark every single day without fail, looked into the kind gray eyes of the ancient elder, and she believed him. She let go. She let herself be caught. For the first time in years she slept. And as she slept, the elders did not yet know that the dark was not finished with them. They did not know that something had stirred in the deep of the void when the daybreak escaped, something old and hungry that the elders themselves had sealed away long ago. They did not know that humanity had not only escaped the dark, but had woken it. That would come. For now there was only this: a broken ship safe at last, a captain asleep at last, and 812 human souls, the last of a lost world, held gently in the hands of the oldest people in the galaxy who had taken one look at them, and were only just beginning to understand. The daybreak was towed gently to the elder world of Ethon, the heart of the conquered, where the great elders gathered to rule the quiet stars. Ethon was a world like a jewel. It had silver cities that rose into soft golden skis, and gardens that had been grown over thousands of years and seized the color of warm light. The humans, looking out from the windows of their broken ship as it came down through the clouds, could not believe their eyes. After years of cold dark, the sight of a living world, green and blue and bright, was almost too much to bear. Some of them laughed. Some of them cried. Some of them simply pressed their hands against the glass and said nothing at all. The conquered of elders gave the humans a place to live, a wide green valley near one of the silver cities, with clean water and good soil and warm air. The elder healers worked day and night to mend the sick. The elder builders raised soft, warm shelters. And slowly, over the days and weeks, the people of the daybreak began to heal, not just in their bodies, but in the deeper places too. But not all of the elders were glad that the humans had come. The conquered was made of many old species, and they did not all think alike. Among them was a hawkish elder of the KTH, a stern and careful being named Sarnak, who had spent his long life guarding the conquered against danger, and who trusted nothing he did not fully understand. "We know nothing of these creatures," Sarnak said before the gathered conquered in the great round hall where the elders met. "We know they came out of the void. We know nothing came out of the void for 100,000 years until them. Does that not trouble you? Does that not make you ask what is so different about them? What if the difference is not a good thing? What if the dark did not let them go but sent them? What if they are a sickness and we have brought them into the heart of our home?" Valen rose to answer. He had become, in these weeks, the great defender of the humans, and the conquered had begun to call him their voice. "I have walked among them," Sarnak, Valen said. "I have read the names of their dead on the walls of their ship. I have watched a starving old man give his last food to children who were not his own. I have seen what they are. They are not a sickness. They are the kindest fierce thing I have ever seen in all my years. The dark did not send them. The dark failed to keep them. There is a difference, and it is the whole difference in the world." "You have grown soft, old friend," Sarnak said. "You have looked into their sad eyes and you have lost your judgment. Tell me this then, if you are so sure. Tell me how they crossed the void. You say their kindness saved them, but kindness does not stop the dark from taking a mind apart. So tell me, what is the true reason? What is the thing that let them do what no one has ever done?" And it was a fair question, and Valen did not have a full answer because the humans themselves did not fully know. So the conquered decided that they must learn, not by force, not by cutting the humans open or putting them in cold rooms. The elders did not do such things, and they would not start now. Instead, they would ask. They would listen. They would let the humans tell their own story in their own way, and they would try with their long patience to understand. So Maya Reyes came before the conquered of elders, in the great round hall, and she told them how the daybreak had crossed the void. She did not make it sound brave. She had no gift for that and no wish for it. She simply told the truth. "Our world died," she began. "It was called Earth. It was blue and green and full of life, and it was the only home we ever had. Something came, a disaster, a slow one we saw coming and could not stop. We are not going to pretend we were wise. We were not. We had years of warning, and we argued and we fought and we wasted most of the time we had. By the time we finally acted, it was almost too late. We could only save a few. The daybreak was one of a handful of ships. We loaded her with everyone we could fit and everything we could carry, and we ran." She paused. "The disaster spread faster than we thought. Our path home was cut off. The only way left, the only direction that wasn't death, led us toward the dark place you call the void. We didn't know what it was. We thought it was just empty space. By the time we learned otherwise, we were already inside and there was no way back. The other ships," she stopped. Her steady voice did not break, but it went very quiet. "The other ships didn't make it. We watched them go dark one by one. The void took them. Their crews started to come apart and they turned on each other or they turned on themselves, and then there was only us. One ship, the daybreak, alone in the dark. The elders listened, and they did not move, and the great round hall was silent as a held breath. The void started on us right away, Maya went on. First it was small things, bad dreams, hearing voices that weren't there. People seeing things in the corners of the ship, things that weren't real. We didn't understand at first. We thought people were just frightened or sick. But it got worse. The dark whispers to you. It finds the worst thing inside you, your grief, your guilt, your fear, and it pulls on it. It tells you to give up. It tells you that you're already dead, that everyone you love is already gone, that the kind thing, the only thing, is to stop fighting and let go. She lifted her head. We lost people, I won't lie to you about that. We lost a lot of people, especially at the start before we understood what we were facing. Some gave up, some came apart, some we couldn't save no matter how hard we held on. Every name on the walls of my ship is someone we couldn't save. Her jaw tightened. But then we figured out the thing the dark couldn't fight. The one thing. What thing? Sarnak asked, leaning forward despite himself. What was the thing? Each other, Maya said simply. The dark works on you when you're alone in your own head. So we stopped letting anyone be alone, ever. We made a rule. No one is alone, day or night, awake or asleep. We slept in shifts so someone was always watching over someone else. When the whispers came for you, there was always a hand to hold, always a voice to remind you who you were, always someone to say you are not alone, you are real, I am here, hold on. We sang together so the songs would drown out the whispers. We told stories of home so we'd remember what we were fighting for. We took the youngest and the weakest and we built a wall of ourselves around them. The dark could whisper to one mind. It could not whisper to 800 minds all holding on to each other at once. We were too loud. We were too many. We were too together. And so it couldn't take us apart because we wouldn't come apart. We were stitched into one thing, and that one thing was too strong for it. She looked around the great hall, at the ancient faces of the oldest beings in the galaxy. That's the secret you wanted, Elder Sarnak, she said. There's no trick to it. There's no special power. We're not stronger than you. We're not smarter. We're small and soft and we break easy. But we figured out that a person alone breaks and a person held breaks much harder. So we held, every day, for 3 years and 41 days. We held on to each other and we did not let go, and that is how we crossed your void. The great round hall was silent for a long, long time. And then Valen turned to Sarnak, and his gray eyes were bright. There is your answer, old friend, Valen said quietly. You asked what is different about them. That is what is different. We are old and we are wise and we are strong, but somewhere in our long years, we learned to face the dark alone. We built our minds like fortresses, each one apart, each one proud. And a fortress, however strong, is one mind, and one mind the dark can break. But these small, soft creatures never learned to be fortresses. They are too weak to stand alone, so they never even tried. They learned to stand together instead. And a thing made of 800 souls all holding on at once, that the dark cannot break. Sarnak was quiet. He looked at the human captain, small and tired and unbowed, standing alone before the gathered might of the conquered. And something in his stern old face changed, just a little. We could not have done it, Sarnak said slowly, and it was hard for him to say because the KTH were a proud people. Could we, Valen, if it had been us in that dark, we would have gone in strong and certain and alone, each one of us, and the dark would have taken us one by one, and we would never have understood why. Because we have forgotten how to do the thing these creatures did. We have forgotten how to need each other. Yes, Valen said gently. I believe we have. And perhaps that is the most important thing we have learned in 100,000 years, and we learned it from a broken ship full of the last of a lost world. It might have ended there, in wonder and in peace. But it did not, because while the elders learned the secret of the daybreak, the dark was learning something too. Far away, at the edge of the void, the watch station far lamp began once more to ring its alarms. Something was moving in the deep. Not a small thing this time. not a single broken ship crawling toward the light. This was vast and old, and it moved the way a mountain would move if a mountain could hunger. The sensors of far lamps screamed and went dark one by one as the thing drew near the edge, and the last image they sent before they died was of a shape so large and so wrong that the watchers who saw it could not afterward find words for it. The elders had a name for it, the old name they did not speak out loud, because they believed some things grew stronger when you spoke them. They had sealed it away 100,000 years ago. It was the reason the void was the void. It was the hunger at the bottom of the dark, the thing that took minds apart, the thing the elders had been too afraid to ever fight again, so they had simply walled it off and forgotten it and told their children only to stay away. And now it was awake. The escape of the daybreak had stirred it. A door long sealed had been opened, just a crack, just enough, by one small ship clawing its way out, and through that crack the hunger had finally found the way out it had sought for 100,000 years. It was coming. It was coming out of the void into the open stars, into the quiet galaxy of the elders. And in all the long memory of the elders there was no weapon, no fleet, no wisdom that had ever been able to stop it. They had never beaten it. They had only ever run from it and hidden and shut the door. When the terrible news reached Ethon, the great round hall fell into fear, real fear, the kind the ancient elders had not felt in 100,000 years. And in the middle of that fear, one small voice spoke up. It was Maya Ray's. "I know that thing," she said quietly, and every ancient head in the hall turned toward her. "I've heard its voice. For 3 years and 41 days I heard it whispering in the dark. We all did. We know how it thinks. We know how it hunts. We know what it's afraid of." She looked at Valen and at Sarnak and at all the old frightened elders who had ruled the stars for longer than humanity had existed. "You've never beaten it," she said, "because you've always faced it the only way you know how, alone and strong and proud, and that's exactly the way it knows how to win." She lifted her chin. "Let us help you. We've already faced it once, and we're still here." The thing came out of the void like a tide of night. It did not have one shape. That was the first terror of it. It was vast and shifting, a darkness that moved against the stars, swallowing their light as it came. Where it passed, the watch stations went silent. Where it passed, the small lights of ships winked out. It did not destroy them with fire or with weapons. It simply touched the minds inside them, and the minds came apart, and then the ships drifted on, full and silent and dead, like beautiful empty shells. The elders sent their great fleet against it. They had the most powerful ships in the galaxy, polished over 100,000 years, armed with weapons that could crack open worlds. The fleet was beautiful and terrible and proud, and it sailed out from Ethon to meet the dark, and the whole galaxy held its breath. It did not last an hour. The weapons did nothing. You cannot shoot a hunger. You cannot burn a thing that is made of the dark between thoughts. The great ships fired, and the tide of night washed over them, and one by one the proud elder crews felt the cold whisper enter their minds. And because each of them was strong and certain, and alone inside the fortress of their own mind, the dark found them one at a time and took them apart, just as it had always done. The great fleet went silent. Its ships drifted, full and empty, into the deep. The conquered of elders watched their proudest fleet die, and despair fell over Ethon like a shroud. "It is as it was 100,000 years ago," an old elder said, his voice hollow. "We cannot fight it. We never could. We can only run and hide and seal the doors and pray it forgets us again. There is no other way. There has never been another way." "There is another way," said Maya Ray's. She had come into the great round hall uninvited, and behind her stood a small group of humans, the leaders of the daybreak, thin and worn but standing straight. The elders looked at them, these small soft creatures who had no great ships and no great weapons, and even now, even in their despair, some of them wanted to send the humans away. What could humans do, where the mightiest fleet in the galaxy had failed? But Valen raised his hand. "Let her speak," he said. "She has faced this thing for longer than any being alive. Let her speak." Maya stepped forward. You sent your fleet against it the way you always have, she said. Strong ships, proud crews, each one a fortress. And it beat you the way it always has by getting inside those fortresses one at a time. You keep losing because you keep fighting it the way it wants to be fought. Alone. She shook her head. We learned in the dark that you cannot beat this thing by being strong. You beat it by being together. It can take a mind apart only when that mind is alone. So you make sure no mind is ever alone. But our crews are together, an elder protested. They fly in the same ships. They are side by side. Side by side isn't together, Maya said. Not the way I mean. Your people are proud. Each of them stands alone inside their own head, behind their own walls, sure they don't need anyone else. And that pride is exactly the door the dark walks through. You have to do more than stand near each other. You have to actually hold on to each other. You have to open the walls. You have to let yourselves need each other truly, completely, the way we did. And I won't lie to you, her voice grew quiet. That is the hardest thing in the universe to do. It's harder than any weapon. It means letting other people see you afraid. It means trusting that when you start to fall, someone will catch you. Your people have spent 100,000 years learning not to do that. And now their lives depend on learning it in a single day. The Great Hall was silent. We can't teach you to be like us, Maya said. Not in time, but we can do the next best thing. We can be the center. We've already faced this thing and held. We know the way through. Put us at the heart of it. Let us be the anchor and let your people hold on to us and let us all hold on together and we will build a thing made of many souls that the dark cannot break. That's the plan. That's the only plan. It's the only thing that has ever worked. Sarnak, the stern old KTH, spoke. You ask us to follow 800 soft creatures into a battle our greatest fleet could not survive. You ask the oldest powers in the galaxy to put our lives in the hands of children. No, Maya said. I'm asking you to let us put our lives in your hands and you in ours all at once, all together the way it has to be. We didn't survive the dark because we were strong, Elder Sarnak. We survived because none of us tried to survive alone. That's all I'm offering you. The thing that saved us, it's the only thing I have, but it's enough. I know it's enough because I'm standing here. And then Maya Reyes said the thing that broke something open in the heart of every elder in that hall. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. This isn't our galaxy. This isn't our war. You found us half dead and you took us in and you healed our children and you asked nothing in return. You could put us back on the daybreak right now and send us away to find some safe corner of the stars, and no one would blame us for running. We've already lost one home. No one would blame us for not dying to save someone else's. She looked around the hall at all the ancient, frightened faces. But we're not going to run. We're going to stay and we're going to fight, and if we have to, we're going to die for you, for people who aren't even our own. Do you understand? We choose this, knowing what it costs. Because you were kind to us when you didn't have to be, and we don't leave kindness unanswered, and we don't let people we care about face the dark alone. Not ever. Not even people we only just met. Especially not them. And the elders understood then a little more. They understood that this was the thing that had carried the daybreak across the unsurvivable. Not strength. Not cleverness. This refusal to let anyone face the dark alone, stretched out now to cover even strangers, even the ancient and the mighty, even a whole galaxy of beings who were not human and never could be. The humans did not draw a line around their own kind. Their care spilled over every border. They had been in the galaxy for a handful of weeks, and they were ready to die for it. Valen rose to his feet, and his ancient voice was thick. In 900 years, he said, I have asked many young species to help us and to fight for us and to die for us. And always, always they asked first, what do we get? What is the price? What is in it for us? It was a fair question. I never blamed them for asking it. He looked at Maya Reyes. You did not ask it. The thought did not even cross your mind. You stand here, the last of a dead world with nothing left but a broken ship and 800 souls, and you offer us everything you have freely because we were kind to you once. His gray eyes shone. We took you for the weakest thing that ever crawled out of the dark. We were fools. You are the strongest thing I have ever seen, and your strength is of a kind we forgot existed, and I am ashamed that it took the end of the world to remind us." He turned to the conquered. "We will do as the humans say," he declared. "We will go out to meet the dark not as fortresses but as one. We will let down our walls. We will hold on to one another, and we will put the humans at our heart, and we will see if the oldest people in the galaxy can still learn a new thing when everything depends on it. Who stands with me?" For a moment no one moved. To let down the walls of the mind, to need another openly, to be seen afraid, for the proud elders, this was harder than facing death. Death they understood, this they did not. And then Sarnak, the stern old KTH who trusted nothing, stood up. "I have guarded the conquered my whole life by trusting no one," he said. "And it kept us safe and it kept us alone, and now alone is killing us." He looked at Maya Reyes. "Teach me, human. Teach an old proud fool how to hold on. I am ready to learn." And one by one, all across the great round hall, the ancient elders rose to their feet. So the plan was made, and it was not a plan of weapons. It was a plan of souls. The humans of the daybreak spread out through the elder fleet that remained, 2 or 3 humans to a ship, to be the anchors, the ones who had already faced the dark and held. And the humans taught the elders as fast as they could, the things they had learned in 3 years and 41 days inside the void. They taught them the songs that drown out the whispers. They taught them to hold hands, to keep watch over one another, to say out loud again and again, "You are not alone. You are real. I am here. Hold on." They taught the proud ancient elders how to be afraid in front of each other, and how to catch each other falling, and how to be, for the first time in 100,000 years, truly together. It was strange and it was hard and there was almost no time. Some of the elders could not do it. Their pride was too old, their walls too thick. But many of them could and did, surprising themselves, weeping in the strange relief of it, of finally putting down a loneliness they had carried so long they had forgotten its weight. And at the very heart of the fleet, the daybreak took its place. The broken little ship that had crossed the void, scarred and patched and painted with the names of the dead, would lead the charge. Maya Reyes stood at its front, where she had stood every day in the dark, and around her, in every ship of the gathered fleet, humans and elders held on to one another and made ready to sail into the tide of night. "It will come for the strongest first," Maya told them all over the open signal, her steady voice carrying across the whole fleet. "It always does. It looks for the proudest mind, the loneliest mind, the one most sure it doesn't need anyone, and it goes for that one. So when you feel it reach for you, and you will, don't be ashamed. Don't hide it, call out, tell the others, reach for a hand. The moment you feel the cold, that is the moment you hold on hardest, not the moment you let go. Do you understand? The dark wants you alone, so whatever it takes, do not be alone." "And if it takes us anyway?" an elder asked over the signal, his voice small. "If we are not strong enough, if we hold on and it still is not enough?" Maya Reyes was quiet for a moment. "Then we'll have faced it together," she said. "And there are worse ways to end than that. There are much worse ways, I should know, I've seen most of them." A pause. "But we're not going to end. I've faced this thing for 3 years and I'm still here, and now I've got a whole galaxy holding on with me. It doesn't stand a chance. Now hold on, all of you, hold on and don't let go. Here it comes." And out of the deep, the tide of night came on, swallowing the stars. And one small, broken human ship, at the head of the last fleet of the elders, turned to face it. Share the dark struck the fleet like a wave striking a shore. It came over the ships in a great cold wash, and at once the whispers began. They came into every mind at the same moment, ancient and patient and full of hunger, and they reached for the proudest and the strongest first, just as Maya Reyes had said they would. In the lead ship beside the daybreak, Valen felt the cold enter his thoughts. It was worse than he had imagined. The dark did not shout. It did not threaten. It spoke softly in a voice that sounded almost like his own, and it knew him. It knew every grief of his 900 years. It knew the civilizations he had buried, the friends he had outlived, the long cold loneliness of being the oldest thing in the room for centuries upon centuries. "You are so tired," the dark whispered to him, gently, kindly. "You have carried so much for so long. No one understands." No one ever has. You have always been alone, Valen, truly alone behind your walls, and you always will be. Let go, rest. You have earned your rest, just let go. And it was so reasonable. It was so kind. Valen felt himself begin to slip, felt the threads of his ancient mind begin to loosen, felt the great cold piece of letting go reach up to take him. And a hand closed around his. It was Sarnak. The stern old KTH had crossed the deck of the ship to reach him, and now he gripped Valen's hand in his hard, and he said, "Valen, look at me. You are not alone, I am here. I am right here. Hold on, old friend, hold on." And from the open signal, a human voice, a young one of the Daybreak's crew stationed aboard their ship, called out clear and steady the words the humans had taught them. "You are not alone. You are real. We are here. Hold on. Don't listen to it. Listen to us." And Valen, ancient Valen, who had stood alone behind his walls for 900 years, did the hardest thing he had ever done. He let the walls fall. He let Sarnak see his fear. He let the humans hold him. He held on to the hand in his, and he held on to the voices in his ears, and he said out loud in front of all of them the words he had never once said in all his long life. "I am afraid. I cannot do this alone. Help me. Please, hold on to me." And they did. And the dark, reaching for a fortress, found instead a thing it did not know how to take, a mind that was no longer alone, a soul held by other souls, all of them woven together too tight to pull apart. It happened all across the fleet. The dark reached for the proudest elders, and where those elders held on, where they let down their walls and called out and were caught, the dark could find no grip. But the plan was not perfect, and they had had so little time. Here and there, an elder too proud, too old, too sure, faced the whisper alone and slipped and was lost. The fleet began to fray at its edges. Ships went silent. The tide of night pressed in. And at the heart of it all, the daybreak burned like a small fierce star. The dark hated the daybreak. It knew that ship. For 3 years and 41 days it had whispered to the souls inside it, and for 3 years and 41 days they had refused to break, and now they had come back and they had brought the whole galaxy with them, and they had shown the galaxy the one trick that worked. The dark gathered itself, all its vast cold hunger, and it threw itself at the little ship, harder than it had ever struck anything, to silence at last the voices that defied it. The whispers came into the daybreak like a flood. Every human aboard felt it at once, every old grief, every name on the walls, every face they had lost in the dark, all of it dragged up and turned against them. You did not save them, the dark whispered to all of them together, all those names on your walls. You let them die. You could have done more, you should have. You are not worth what they were. Let go and join them. It is what you deserve. And it was the cruelest thing it could have said, because it was the fear that lived deepest in every human heart on that ship. For one terrible moment, the daybreak wavered. And then Maya Reyes lifted her voice, the steady voice that had held her people together every single day in the dark, and she began to sing. It was an old human song, a simple one they had sung 1,000 times in the deep of the void. It was a song about coming home. And one by one, all across the daybreak, the humans heard their captain singing, and they reached for one another's hands and they began to sing with her. 800 voices, thin and worn and unbroken, rising together against the dark. And on the walls around them, the names of their dead seemed almost to sing too. Every soul they had ever lost, gathered with them in that song, lending what was left of them to the living. And the song spread. It went out over the open signal, across the whole fleet, and the humans on every ship took it up, and they taught the words to the elders beside them, and the ancient proud elders who had not sung together in 100,000 years began, haltingly, to sing. A galaxy's worth of voices, human and elder and every kind between, all holding on to one another, all singing the same simple song about coming home. The dark could whisper to a mind that was alone. It could not whisper through a song. It could not pull apart a thing that was singing with one voice. It reached for grip and found none, anywhere in all the fleet, because there was no longer a single mind left alone for it to take. There was only the one great woven thing, many souls held into one, and it was too vast and too tight and too loud. And for the first time in 100,000 years, the hunger that lived at the bottom of the dark felt something it had never felt before. It felt small. It recoiled. The tide of night pulled back from the singing fleet, confused, wounded in a way it did not understand, unable to feed, unable to grip, unable to win. And in that moment, Maya Reyes saw the chance she had been waiting for, the chance she had crossed 3 years of dark to learn how to see. "Now," she cried over the signal. "It's pulling back, it's afraid. Push, all of us together, push it back into the dark. Don't stop singing, don't let go, push." And the fleet drove forward as one. They did not fire a single weapon. Weapons had never worked. Instead, they drove the singing, the holding, the togetherness, forward into the heart of the dark like a blade of light. Every soul in the fleet held on to every other, and they pushed the great woven thing of themselves against the hunger. And the hunger, which had only ever known how to fight the lonely, did not know how to fight the joined. It gave ground. It pulled back and back, toward the edge of the void, toward the door it had come through, the door it had waited 100,000 years to open. And at the very front, leading them all, was one small broken ship, painted with the names of the dead, singing a song about coming home. They drove the dark back to the edge of the void. They drove it through the door, and as it passed back into the deep, beaten not by strength but by the one thing it had never been able to break, the elders sealed the door behind it, sealed it as they had sealed it once before, 100,000 years ago, but this time the humans showed them how to make the seal hold. Not with walls, Maya told them. Walls can be broken. A door is only truly shut when there's someone on the other side of it who refuses to let it open. So we leave watchers, always together, never alone, holding the door shut with songs. And we never forget what's behind it. And we never ever let anyone face it alone again. And so it was done. The dark was sealed once more in the void, and this time it would stay sealed, because this time the galaxy had learned the only thing that could hold it. When it was over, there was a long silence across the fleet. And then slowly the silence broke, not into cheering but into something deeper. Across every ship, humans and elders who had held on to one another through the dark simply stayed there, holding on, weeping, not yet able to let go, not yet wanting to. They had been to the bottom of the dark together, and they had come back together, and they would never again be quite so alone as they had been before. In the days that followed, the conquered of elders gathered once more in the great round hall. But it was a different conquered now. Something had changed in them, something that would never change back. They had let down their ancient walls, and they had found, on the other side, not weakness, but each other. They had learned the thing the humans knew, and they would spend the rest of their long lives unlearning the loneliness of 100,000 years. Maya Reyes stood before them, as she had before, small and tired and unbowed. But the elders did not look at her the way they had at first. They did not look at her as the weakest thing that had crawled out of the dark. Valen rose to speak, and the whole hall fell silent for him. "When the daybreak first came out of the void," he said, "I stood at the window of a lonely station and I looked at it and I did not understand. I saw a broken ship and a dying people and I felt pity and I felt wonder, but I did not understand. I thought in my pride that I was the wise one and that these small soft creatures had survived by luck or by some trick we would in time uncover." He looked at Maya. "I was a fool. We all were. We are the oldest people in the galaxy. We have crossed the stars and buried civilizations and ruled the quiet dark for longer than your kind has had a name. And in all that time, in all our wisdom, we had forgotten the single most important thing there is to know. We had forgotten how to need each other. We had grown so strong that we had grown alone, and alone, all our strength could not save us from the dark." He turned to the whole hall. "It took one human ship emerging from the void to remind us. We took one look at them, at their broken ship, at the names of their dead, at a captain who would fight a galaxy to protect 800 souls, at a people who would die for strangers because once those strangers were kind. We took one look at humanity, and at long last, we understood. His ancient voice grew soft. We understood that we had it backwards all along. We thought strength meant standing alone. They taught us that the only true strength is in holding on to one another. They are not the youngest, weakest species in the galaxy. They are the wisest, and they are wisest in the one thing that matters most. He bowed his head to Maya Reyes, an elder of the Sorth, 900 years old, bowing to a human, and across the great round hall, every ancient elder bowed with him. Humanity, Valen said, you came to us with nothing but a broken ship and each other, and you have given us back the most precious thing we ever lost. You have a home here for as long as the stars shall last, not as guests, not as a young species to be guided, as teachers, as family, as the people who walked out of the dark and reminded the whole galaxy how to hold on. Maya Reyes, captain of the Daybreak, last daughter of a lost world, looked at the bowed heads of the oldest beings in creation, and for a moment she could not speak. Then she found her steady voice one last time. We didn't do anything special, she said quietly. We just didn't let go of each other, that's the whole secret. There was never any more to it than that. She smiled. Tired and warm. But I think that's something everyone forgets sooner or later. The old forget it, the strong forget it, the lonely forget it most of all. So maybe that's our job now. Maybe that's what humanity is for out here among the stars. To go around the galaxy, ship by ship and world by world, reminding everyone of the one thing they keep forgetting. And what thing is that? Valen asked gently, though he already knew. Maya Reyes looked around the great hall, at the elders, at her own people, at the strange new family the dark had given her. And she said it the way she had said it every single day for 3 years and 41 days in the deep of the void, the way she would go on saying it for the rest of her life. The words that had carried one small human ship out of the unsurvivable and reminded a whole galaxy how to live. You are not alone, she said. You are real, we are here, hold on. And out beyond the silver cities of Ethon, the Daybreak rested in a green valley under a real sky, its broken hull catching the warm golden light, the names of its dead shining softly on its sides. It had crossed the deepest dark in all the universe. It had carried the last of a lost world to a new home, and it had taught the oldest people in the galaxy the one thing they had forgotten in 100,000 years. One human ship had emerged from the void. The elders had taken one look at humanity. And at last they understood.